I think time travel stories are pretty neat. They can have some really thrilling feats or deliver some amazing emotional scenes. But out of all of them, Amazing Grace stands out for combining your time travel Groundhog Day story with the charms of a familiar anime rom-com. These girls are super duper cute, and yet one of them may possibly be the culprit for causing the apocalypse. Thanks to Shirvune for providing me a review copy for me to check out, and for showing me a interesting time travel romance story, while also educating me about the wonders of classical art. Our story takes place with our amnesiac main character Shu waking up in a strange place, a European town enclosed in a beautiful aurora. He may have lost his memories, but he quickly becomes attached to the town and the new friends he meets. But on Christmas Day, an explosive fire breaks out, engulfing the town and its inhabitants in flames. However, thanks to one desperate wish, he's able to time travel back in time a month prior in order to save the town and its people from complete catastrophe. Pretty big consequences, and the various paintings illustrating historical deaths and the coming of the apocalypse sure ain't helping reassure Shu. It's not easy getting to the bottom of this mystery too, because the town itself isn't exactly your average European-looking city. All of this Renaissance architecture makes me think we're in Italy, not a couple of miles from the Aurora Borealis. This town is strange, with its own unique cultural and physical characteristics. Over the course of the story, Shu stumbles upon more and more interesting facts and rumors. The bad Santa that kidnaps naughty children, the mysterious graphic artists and their incomprehensible drawings, the seemingly all-seeing radio star Leela, and the town's biggest foundational mystery. Talking about the Aurora and the world outside of it is strictly taboo, because everything outside of the Aurora was destroyed by the apocalypse over 100 years ago. So who knows what strange, unusual things coming from outside might affect the poor people here. At least that's what the Holy Sister encourages. These guys are actually pretty lax about the whole thing, after figuring out that Shu comes from the mysterious outside world in which they have no knowledge of. All of the characters basically welcome him with open arms, and they all pitch in to help Shu out in his strange circumstances. Amazing Grace may be about finding the truth behind the town's secrets and avoiding biblically described impending doom, but we still have time for some fun shenanigans.
あなたは私は悪魔だ。そなたの声を聞いて現れたのである。
Honestly, what could be more important than the school culture festival? And here, you're gonna meet a pretty friendly cast of characters. We've got Sakuya, a reserved and yet caring, clingy underclassman, one that won't hesitate to tease Shu for his lewdness. Kotaha, a charismatic, reliable, ladylike upperclassman, one of the academy's top artists, going as far as to have Shu model naked for her artwork. Kyrie, a small but high-energy, rebellious girl, fully dedicated to directing her movies and having Shu star as the main actor. And Yune, a pure, kind, and innocent girl that loves singing, the poster girl heroine serving as Shu's supporter in his time travel adventures. Interactions between the whole cast are fun to watch, and the activities they do together are charming. Every one of them are equally supportive of each other too, and this shows in the form of them helping each other out with their art projects and other personal affairs, which makes it that much more unusual given that one of them might be the culprit. So, in order to find out who, each loop is dedicated to getting to know the specific characters, which is effectively Amazing Grace's character routes. Here, you'll get to see the relationship between Shu and the selected heroine grow, and at the same time, progressing Shu's ongoing investigation with every loop, each one being drastically different. I found this to be a pretty neat way of combining the two genres, and yet, it's because of that genre combination that it also tends to conflict with itself. The pivotal key moment of the town burning actually takes quite a bit to get to. You'll spend a fair amount of time getting to know the characters and their lives, which normally is fine. But with the context of the catastrophe lying in wait, consciously, I saw it as a very slow beginning. Even in the time loops itself, Shu takes a very leisurely time getting intimate with the heroines. My dude, have you forgotten that the girl you might have fallen in love with might be a religious arsonist? Now, I appreciate the romantic development, but man, that lack of urgency and investigative nature will 100% bore anyone super invested in this mystery. Although, I wouldn't recommend Amazing Grace strictly for that either. This story requires a very big suspension of disbelief when it comes to plot devices, developments, and reveals. I kinda just took it as accepted facts and continued reading, but it sure as hell had me raising an eye multiple times. By the end, and I was eventually rewarded with a full explanation, only for it to come out as a very long info dump reveal, many monologues included. What's also interesting is that the rom-com elements also feel satisfactory as a whole. Some of the banter between the characters is perfectly fine. There's just a couple of pitfalls in the form of unoriginal jokes. Really, every time the heroines call Shu out as a pervert or the drunken horny nun appears, it's like driving over a pothole. But with all that said, I still think that Amazing Grace is really unique, not because it combines time travel with classic eroge romance, but because of its signature attribute, the aesthetics of classical art and the religious undertones. Have you ever been to an art museum, looked at a painting, and outright said, "Yeah, I don't get it"? Cool, me too. Amazing Grace is like the anime nerd's intro to classical art. Lots of paintings throughout history are talked about here. The Tower of Babel, Rousseau's The Dream, the Garden of Earthly Delights. They aren't here just to look pretty, for they reference and allude to the story's plot and characters, especially the paintings with prominent Christian backgrounds. The Final Judgment says hello. It's very explicit and obvious in their explanations, but I do appreciate how easily approachable these topics are to those not knowledgeable. I for sure did, as someone like Kyrie, for sure, slacked off in my Bible studies. Like the cast educating Shu on the new world he entered in, Amazing Grace is a welcome introduction to the world of classical art. Here, the story teaches you how to appreciate artwork, identifying the meaning behind certain art pieces, questioning what defines aesthetic beauty, and the expression of oneself through the creation of art. Beauty is subjective, and it depends from person to person, even to how someone expresses their fondness for it. Amazing Grace takes these art principles and uses it to highlight each individual character and their beliefs. Kyrie's love for using explosions in her movie has an underlying principle, all tied to her rebellious personality and the influence of someone she's very fond of. Of course, this also includes character relationships and dynamics too. Kotaha and Guido are the top artists in their class. Both of them have this competitive rivalry between each other, which only in turn further improves their talent and creativity. Even the absence of a misunderstood art form or artistic skill has relevance and is discussed. Yune's singing isn't technically considered an official art form simply because it isn't tangible and man-made, but despite that, she still finds enjoyment and self-valuation out of it. Shu himself doesn't have the artistic talent or experience of anyone in this academy, but his own perspective and viewpoint is something of value still. Getting to know and understand these characters is important to help you find out who the culprit is and why this town functions the way it does. I like how this artistic focus integrates into the ongoing investigation. However, I find myself actually enjoying the internal personal aspect more, where I just straight up ignored or even forgot about the mystery. I believe Amazing Grace is at its best and most unique in this department, showing you the essence of what beauty and artistic expression is and what it means to our characters, while also educating you too. It also helps that the girls in their romances are cute to watch too. Really, I think those are the biggest selling points of Amazing Grace. It's a title dedicated to anime romance fans who also want an ongoing story plotline too. 3 out of 5 with a seal of recommendation. I would also like to thank everyone on Patreon for supporting me in covering visual novels. You guys are fantastic, and if you would like to be a part of that effort, please consider subscribing. Now, if you're curious in another romance visual novel, I recommend checking this one out over here or this one for a general recommendation.